You heard the quote, "Do good, and good will come to you." This is the story of a man who risked everything to save animals from hunters' traps. But one day, when he found himself caught with no way out, something unbelievable happened. Something he never saw coming. The story begins with a boy named Gabriel who loved adventure. Growing up near the woods, he was never afraid to explore. Even as a child, he often wandered off alone, disappearing into the trees without telling his parents. But they trusted him. His father had done the same when he was young, so he believed Gabriel would be fine. Gabriel was just like his father. He loved the thrill of taking risks. When he was 9, his mother once caught him trying to play with a snake. She panicked, but his father told her not to stop him. "The woods and animals will teach him better than we ever could," he said. Everyone knew Gabriel wasn't afraid of danger. He loved excitement, but he also listened when his parents told him not to go too deep into the forest. Now, at 17, he was still fascinated by the woods. He told his parents he was going on a hike. When he was younger, they wouldn't have allowed it, but now they agreed. But Gabriel had another plan. He wasn't just hiking, he was on a mission. Deep in the forest, hunters had set traps for animals, and he hated them. He had seen animals suffering for hours, stuck and helpless. It made him angry. He knew removing those traps was risky. If the hunters caught him, there would be trouble. But he didn't care. He couldn't stand the thought of innocent animals suffering, so he stepped deeper into the woods, ready to do what he felt was right. And when Gabriel set out on his mission, he told his parents he would be hiking for the day. They knew wild animals usually stayed away from humans during daylight, so they let him go, but warned him to be back before dark. At first, he went to the place his parents had always told him to avoid when he was younger. It wasn't because of animals. It was because of hunters. They had always said it was too dangerous. But now, he was older and determined. When he got there, he found nothing. No traps, no animals. After searching for hours, he sighed and decided to head home. Just as he started walking down a hill, a faint whimper stopped him. He listened carefully and followed the sound. Hidden in the grass, he found a small wolf cub caught in a metal trap. The little creature had been struggling for hours. Its tiny body was weak, and its eyes were filled with pain. Gabriel didn't think twice. He pulled out his tools and slowly pried open the trap. It took time, but after 20 minutes, the cub was free. He treated its wounds, knowing it wouldn't survive alone. But instead of running away, the cub just sat beside him. It had no one. At that moment, Gabriel made a choice. He gently picked up the cub, placed it inside his backpack, and took it home. He would care for it and release it when it was strong. He knew his parents wouldn't approve, but he couldn't leave it behind. When Gabriel reached home, his parents were happy he had returned before nightfall. But when he showed them the wolf cub, their smiles disappeared. They couldn't believe he had brought a wild animal from the woods. For months, Gabriel fought to keep the cub, whom he later named Lexi. His parents were furious. They told him a wild animal didn't belong in their home. But Gabriel refused to give up. He promised to take full responsibility. He bought meat scraps from the butcher, built a small shelter for Lexi, and even took him on hikes every week. As time passed, Lexi grew stronger. Gabriel trained him, played with him, and protected him. But after 6 months, he realized something. The longer he kept Lexi, the harder it would be to let him go. One day, Gabriel took Lexi deep into the woods and let him roam free. 2 hours later, Lexi returned with a rabbit in his mouth. That was the moment Gabriel knew. It was time. With a heavy heart, he let Lexi go, hoping the wolf would survive in the wild. Years passed, and Gabriel's life changed. He finished high school and moved to the city, chasing new experiences. But one day, everything came to a stop. His father had fallen critically ill, and the doctor said he only had a few months left. Gabriel didn't think twice. He packed his bags and returned home. His mother, now older and fragile, needed him too. He found a remote job and settled back into his childhood home. But something felt off. Life in the city had been fast and full of excitement, but now everything was quiet. Too quiet. To clear his mind, he did what he had always loved. He went back into the mountains, searching for animal traps. After 4 hours of hiking and finding nothing, he decided to head home. But as he walked, the sky darkened and heavy rain started pouring. The trail became slippery, forcing him to take a different route. That's when he realized he was lost. He lagged down and stepped off the trail for a moment. When he turned back, a sharp pain shot through his foot. He looked down in shock. His leg was caught in a hunter's trap. His leg throbbed as the trap's sharp metal teeth dug deep into his skin. Every movement sent a sharp pain shooting through his body. He tried to pull free, but the trap was too strong. Worst of all, he had left his tools at home. Without them, he had no way to escape. His head spun, his vision blurred, and just when he thought things couldn't get worse, a low growl filled the air. Wolves. Glowing eyes appeared in the darkness surrounding him. The pack crept closer, their snarls growing louder. Gabriel's heart pounded. He was hurt, alone, and completely defenseless. The lead wolf bared its teeth and lunged straight for him. For a split second, Gabriel thought about his mother, waiting for him at home. He regretted ever coming into the woods. Now he had no choice but to accept whatever happened next. But then, out of nowhere, a blur of fur shot forward. A wolf slammed into the leader, knocking it away from Gabriel. A vicious fight broke out, growls and yelps echoing through the trees. Then, as the dust settled, Gabriel saw the wolf standing in front of him. It was Lexi. Lexi howled, and the other wolves stepped back, disappearing into the shadows. Gabriel, struggling to stay conscious, pointed to his bag. Without hesitation, Lexi fetched it and dropped it beside him. With shaking hands, Gabriel pulled out his tools and freed himself from the trap. His leg throbbed, but he was alive. He looked at Lexi, his eyes filled with gratitude. The wolf had saved him. Gabriel reached out, running his fingers through Lexi's thick fur. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, as if understanding it was time to go, Lexi stepped back. With one last glance, he turned and vanished into the forest. When Gabriel stumbled home and told his parents, they could hardly believe it. The wolf he had saved as a cub had now saved him. Some bonds, Gabriel realized, were never meant to be broken.